Early morning. A sunny kitchen, but no one asks, "What do you want to eat today?" A text message rings, not a greeting, but a promotion from a nearby store. It's Emma's birthday today. She's 34. And this is the 4th birthday in a row, forgotten. Michael, her husband, has just finished a Zoom call. He steps out of the room, puts his hand on her shoulder, but not to hug, but to remind her to come home early tonight because her brother has guests. Emma smiles, nods. She doesn't mention anything. She's afraid. If she does, they'll apologize again, and then forget again. In the drawer, last year's card is still there. There's no writing, just a blank card. Sister-in-law Rachel says, "Let me write it myself so I don't get the name wrong." Emma used to think her husband's family loved her. They were just clumsy. But the more she lived, the more she saw. There are types of silence that are not unintentional. Emma is a painter. She once had a dream of opening her own gallery, teaching children to draw what they find beautiful in life. But now, every day she is busy with meals, shopping, family meetings, but she just sits and smiles. And on that birthday morning, while she was putting away her son's toys, she heard Eli, her 6-year-old son, whisper, "Mom, you're not happy today, are you?" Emma was speechless. In that moment, she saw herself in her son's eyes, a mother trying to smile while her heart was breaking into pieces. Sometimes, what hurts us the most is not the hurtful words, but the fact that no one remembers that we also need to be loved. Just one more time. If someone remembers you, not because of the role, but because of who you are. Emma did not dare to say that. But maybe, somewhere, she would learn how to draw her own picture. Saturday dinner, as usual, took place at June's house, Emma's mother-in-law. The dining room was large, the table long, and the dishes were always full. Everyone had their own seats, except Emma, who was usually the first to enter the kitchen and the last to leave. When she came out, everyone had already settled down. The conversation was lively. Michael smiled, pouring water for his father. Rachel, sister-in-law, was telling the story of her son winning a city-level award. Everyone applauded. June herself put a piece of salmon in Rachel's bowl, praising, "I told you, whoever marries Rachel will be blessed for 3 lifetimes." Emma sat down, smiling lightly. She didn't expect to be praised, but at least, she hoped, to see. Eli sat next to her, picked up a piece of chicken, turned to her mother. "Mom, I drew a picture at school. But it doesn't look much like you." Emma smiled. "It's okay, as long as you think I'm beautiful." That casual remark made Rachel laugh. "You must have drawn the wrong teacher." "Because your teacher is also beautiful," Mrs. June chimed in. "Oh, young teachers these days look like hot girls. When I was little, Michael really liked his teacher. Once he drew his teacher and thought he was drawing his future wife." Everyone laughed. Emma laughed along, although her heart felt like it was slipping away like cold noodles. The meal continued. Michael picked up his chopsticks, gingerly trying to pick up a piece of vegetable for Emma, but Mrs. June was quicker. "Here, Rachel, eat this. It's good for your skin." Then she turned to Emma. "And you should eat soup. It will help you sleep better. You're often tired, right?" Emma nodded, thanking him. The soup was still hot, but not enough to warm her back at that moment. The conversation turned to home matters. Rachel was thinking about fixing the stove, because the current stove is not in accordance with feng shui. Mrs. June nodded, clapping her hands. "Yes. Our house lacks fire, so it cannot attract wealth. Mom thinks you should fix it. I will pay half the money. Your house is the head of the house." Emma looked down at her plate of rice. "The head of the house? What does that mean?" "It means the right to speak? The right to speak up? What about her house?" "It is the young daughter-in-law's house, so all you have to do is listen." The meal ended. Emma washed the dishes. Everyone went to the living room to drink tea. While she was bending over the faucet, a voice echoed from behind. "Emma, The spoon you didn't clean cleanly. There's oil on it. It was Rachel. No, sister, no, sorry for interrupting. Emma pursed her lips. Not because of the spoon, not because of the oil, but because of every little thing like that. Every time, she was silent. When leaving, Michael drove. Silent. As usual. In the car, Eli sat in the back seat, leaned over and said softly, "Mom, are you sad?" Emma looked at her son in the rearview mirror. His little eyes, straight, clear, and true. She didn't know how to answer. Because if she told the truth, she would probably cry. And if she lied, she was afraid that he would learn to be quiet like his father. Michael was a nice guy. At least, that's what everyone said. He went to work regularly, didn't drink. Didn't raise his voice. When Emma was tired, he was willing to do the laundry, wash the dishes. He used to hold Emma in the early years of their marriage when she cried because she missed her mother. He used to doodle a wedding picture in pencil, saying, "Just be here." But in the 7th year of their marriage, Michael gradually became just enough. Just enough to be present, but not participating. Just enough to listen, but not speaking up. And when Emma started to be excluded from every conversation in the family, he just quietly held her hand under the table. That time, Emma asked, "Do you think I'm treated differently?" Michael sighed. "I know, but Mom and Rachel are both difficult people. You just ignore them to ease your mind." "I do that too." Emma looked at him. "I do that too." Is that why? Because she was used to enduring. Now others must learn to get used to it too? One rainy afternoon, Emma opened the closet to get an old scarf. She accidentally found the familiar wooden box where Michael kept the things he couldn't bear to throw away. In it were the movie ticket from their first date, the hair tie she had dropped in his pocket, and a handwritten letter she had written 5 years ago when she was pregnant with Eli. The short letter, "No matter what happens, I still want to keep the color of this family with you." Emma gently folded it. Color. Family. Keep it. How ironic, because now Michael was the palest person in that picture. That night, when Eli was sleeping, Emma said, "I want to try talking to your mother. About discrimination. About comparisons. I don't need my mother to love me, I just need to be respected." Michael was silent for a moment, then whispered, "Are you sure? Talking about it might make things more tense." "You know your mother's personality?" Emma asked. "So you mean I'll just keep quiet?" He looked at her. No nod, no shake. And it was that no nod, no shake that made Emma understand. Michael didn't choose sides, because he was afraid of losing the harmony, afraid of being the unreasonable son. But without realizing it, he was the husband who didn't know who to stand on. The next day, Emma woke up early, made coffee, then put a piece of paper on the table. "Don't worry. I won't make a big deal out of it. It's just, I can't live in someone else's smallness forever." Michael read. Didn't say anything. He just went to work like always. Came home like always. And once again, silent like always. Sunday morning, the blue sky was as thin as a layer of glass. Eli sat by the window, holding the teddy bear with one ear missing. Emma was folding clothes in the room. Baby clothes, husband's clothes, kitchen towels, some miscellaneous items. Everything has a shape, except her mood. She folded Michael's t-shirt, put it in a separate drawer, then paused. An old shirt, frayed at the collar, smelling of fabric mixed with fabric softener. The smell of days that were once sweet. Now it was only lingering. Eli walked in, his slippers clicking with his footsteps. The boy stood in front of the door, hesitating. Then he said, "Mom, are you sad?" Emma turned. 1 second. Then 2 seconds. Then, her heart trembled like a door open to the wind. "Why do you ask?" Eli sat down on the carpet. "Because Mom often looked far away, looked for a long time, didn't answer me right away." "Yes, because Mom thought for a moment. But your eyes look sad." "I couldn't draw that sadness." Emma laughed, both pitying and pitying. What did you draw? Eli pulled a picture from behind his back. Mom's standing in the kitchen. The yellow kitchen. Mom held a spoon in her hand, looking far away. Behind her was a picture of her father and grandmother sitting on a chair, smiling. In the corner of the painting, there was her child, secretly looking at her mother. Emma sat down, staring at the crooked drawing for a long time. Not pretty, not accurate, but true. Eli looked up. I saw Mom cooking, then Mom washing clothes, then Mom going to bed late. Because you're Mom. But I think Mom is not happy. Why do you think that? Because Mom doesn't sing anymore. Emma fell silent. Her heart sank. That's right. She used to sing while cooking. Used to hum while hanging clothes. Used to entertain her child with her distorted singing. Since when had she been silent even in the smallest joys? Eli held her mother's hand. Mom, sing. I want to hear. Even if you sing badly, it's fine. Emma hugged her child. For a long time, no singing. Just closed her eyes. Because sometimes to sing again, one needs a reason. Or someone who believes that they still have a voice to sing. Eli whispered. Mom, when I grow up, I will draw you. Not sad anymore. Emma laughed. This time tears really fell. Sometimes. A child's question. Mom, aren't you happy? Is a question adults don't dare ask themselves. Naomi came in on a rainy afternoon, carrying 2 cups of peach tea and a small box of cakes. She was Emma's best friend from college, the only one who knew that Emma had dropped out of her American scholarship to marry Michael. The only one who still kept the habit of writing handwritten letters every birthday, even though Emma never replied on time. Emma opened the door, her hair still damp from washing. She was surprised. Didn't tell you in advance? If I told you in advance, you would say, don't come over, I'm busy with the house. Naomi walked in, put her things on the table, and looked around. Everything was too neat, a neatness that made people feel cold. Do you always arrange things like this? Naomi asked. Emma nodded. Since it doesn't please people. I had to arrange the wardrobe and kitchen cabinets to make them neater. Naomi didn't smile. The two of them sat down. Silence for a while. I read your recent status. About the story about my child's paintings being thrown away. About the party with the missing name. Emma smiled faintly. It's a small thing. No. Not small. Small things like that are the reason why a person gradually disappears from your life without you knowing. Naomi tilted her head, looking straight into Emma's eyes. You know? I took a course in color therapy. They say people don't disappear in a shock. They disappear little by little through interrupted words. Stories not asked. Holidays forgotten. Emma looked down at her palms. The long fingers that used to hold brushes, mix colors, now only held spoons and manipulated. Naomi continued. Emma, you're letting people erase your colors. I didn't choose that, but you let it be. Emma bit her lip. Naomi lowered her voice, softening for the first time like her sister. I know you chose Michael because you love him. You chose to be his daughter-in-law because you thought you could compromise. But you have the right to step back when you see that you can no longer draw. You mean leave? I mean, draw again. But this time, draw yourself in the center. Not as a background for anyone. Emma closed her eyes. Inside her, there was a blurry picture, both regretful and scary. And, for the first time in many years, she wanted to pick up the brush again. Not to draw for anyone. Just to remember that she still had colors. Monday morning, the sky was calm. Eli sat eating breakfast, playing with a sausage stick, watching the TV, playing an old cartoon that he still loved. The colored scissors, the main character had a magic pen, wherever he went. He would draw the world. Emma smiled softly, peeled an apple, and put each slice into her child's lunchbox. Do you like scissors? Yes. He can draw houses, dogs, and rainbows. If you had that pen, what would you draw? Eli thought for a moment, then answered very innocently. You should draw yourself. So that you look like Miss Rachel. Because you're not as good as Miss Rachel. The apple slice Emma had just cut fell from her hand. Eli didn't know what he had just said. He was just repeating what someone had said before, probably at dinner yesterday, when Emma was washing the dishes. Who told you that? Emma asked, trying to keep her voice calm. Grandma said. She said Miss Rachel is very clever. She knows how to please the family. Unlike Mom. Mom always does things her own way. Emma nodded. She didn't cry. But inside, there was something like a glass that had just cracked a very small, very thin line. But exactly. Eli whispered, as if afraid that he was wrong. Mom, are you sad? Emma knelt down and hugged her. No, baby. I'm just a little cold. Because we don't have a rainbow? No. Because there is someone in our family who keeps staring at the sky and forgets that Mom used to know how to draw. Eli was bewildered. Emma stopped talking. She stood up, tied her hair, packed her lunchbox, and picked up her child's bag. Come on, let's go to school. Mom. I'm sorry. It's okay. I didn't do anything wrong. Because Emma knew the one who did wrong was the one who poured into a child's ears distorted definitions of the value of a mother. When Eli had arrived at school, Emma turned around and looked at herself in the mirror. Dark circles, slightly wrinkled shirt, slightly messy hair, and a question echoed in her head. Not as good as Miss Rachel. Is that the measure of who? She didn't blame Eli. She didn't blame her mother-in-law either. She just felt hurt because those words made a child think that her mother lacked something to be recognized. Emma opened the drawer, took out her old sketchbook, HB pencil, and started drawing. No color, just pencil lines. But for the first time in years, she drew herself. Not pretty, not gentle, not the model mother. Just a woman learning to be a human being. On Wednesday afternoon, Eli came home, his eyes filled with tears. He didn't cry, nor did he throw a tantrum. He just walked in with his backpack, then gently placed it on the chair. Emma came out of the kitchen, wiped her hands, knelt down, and asked, What's wrong, honey? Eli looked at his mother, pursed his lips. A moment later, he pulled out from his backpack a crumpled picture. The A3 paper was folded at the corner, one side still stained with water. The drawing was simple with crayons, a woman standing next to the kitchen cabinet, holding a paintbrush. Behind her was a blue wall with an open window letting in light. It was Emma. No doubt about it. Emma gently opened it as far as it would go, smoothing out each fold. Eli said softly, I drew it for you, Mom. In art class. The teacher told me to draw the most inspiring person. So what? But Grandma came to pick me up early, saw the picture, and whispered to the teacher. What do kids draw their mothers? It's okay to draw teachers or famous people. After that, the teacher wouldn't let me submit any more pictures. This one was thrown in the trash. I secretly took it back. Emma was stunned. Not because the paper was wrinkled. Not because the paint was smudged, but because for the first time in her life, she knew what it felt like for a child to choose her as an inspiration, but be taught that her mother wasn't worthy of having her picture hung on the classroom wall. Emma hugged her child. No words of encouragement could make up for that scratch. She just whispered, You're not wrong. You draw well. And I think I'm beautiful in your eyes. Eli buried her face in her mother's neck, her hand clutching the corner of the paper. That night, Emma called Michael. I want to talk to your mother. I'm starting again, he breathed out. No, I don't blame Mom. I just don't want Eli to learn that women are only worthy of admiration when they are someone else. Michael was silent. After a while, he said, I'll come back early tomorrow. I'll go with you. Emma hung up, not hoping, because going with never meant standing with. That night, while Eli slept, Emma took the painting back, spread it out on the table, and used a pen to outline the smudges. After she finished, she taped it to the kitchen wall, right next to the spice cabinet. No need for a frame. No need to wait for an exhibition date. Just remember every morning when she woke up. In someone's eyes, Mom is the one who painted the light. On the weekend, June's family held a birthday party to celebrate Michael's grandfather's 80th birthday. A big occasion, everyone was excited. Emma was too. She chose a light blue dress, lightly pinned the hairpin Eli had given her last year, and carefully baked a tray of small tarts to take with her. The party was at a fancy restaurant. When Emma's family entered, the receptionist bowed and asked for the table name. Michael replied, "June's table." The receptionist checked the list on the computer, then looked up, politely. "Yes, we have a guest list by family. May I ask who you are?" "Michael, June's son." "Yes, Michael is there." "Rachel." "Yes." "Eli." "Yes." "Oh, sorry, what about you?" Emma stood there. 1 second. 2 seconds. The receptionist still looked at her as if she was an outsider coming along for fun. Michael smiled awkwardly. "This is my wife, Emma." "Oh, sorry, Emma. Maybe the family missed the name. Please come in." Emma still smiled. She was used to it. Get used to her name being misspelled in the family chat group. Get used to people calling her Michael's wife instead of Emma. But today, at a grand party, even the name is no longer present. It is no longer a small matter. At the banquet table, everyone chatted animatedly. Rachel sat next to Mrs. June, talking to her aunts and uncles. Emma quietly cut the cake, sharing it with Eli and a few other children. A moment later, Mrs. June patted Rachel on the shoulder, smiling and saying, "This year you took care of everything from A to Z. I am so happy. It takes someone good at managing like you for the house to be warm." Michael turned to Emma, smiling reassuringly. Emma looked at him, saying nothing, because she knew there were times when silence was the ultimate form of resistance. When the party was almost over, everyone gave gifts to Grandpa. Emma walked over and handed over a small gift box. Inside was a pencil sketch of her grandfather. Grandpa opened it, surprised. "Oh, it's beautiful. Who drew it?" Grandma June smiled. "Rachel must have commissioned some artist to draw it, right?" Emma paused. Michael was about to say something, but then stopped. She smiled, bowed her head. "You drew it." Grandpa looked more closely, then nodded. "Very good. You should draw more. Don't let your skills fall apart." Emma thanked him, not because he was complimented, but because finally, someone looked at the picture and knew who drew it. When she got home, Emma turned on her phone. A message from the family group. "Thank you everyone for participating. Especially Rachel for organizing it so thoughtfully. Not a word about her. Not a word about the sketch." Emma smiled faintly. Then she turned on her computer and searched for the class registration page. Weekend art class for kids. Anyone can pick up a brush, even if their name was taken away. She typed in the description. Because every child and adult deserves to be recognized by their own name. Naomi returned, this time without peach tea or cake. She brought a medium-sized white canvas and a set of watercolor brushes. She placed them on the table, saying nothing. Emma looked at the tools, frowning. "Are you trying to make me draw?" "No. I just brought them here to remind you that you used to know how to use colors, and not just to teach your child to draw circles and squares." Emma smiled, half joking, half tired. "Now, I don't know what to draw." Naomi sat down, slowly. "Then draw yourself." "I don't know what I look like anymore." "That's good. Because you won't be trapped in any image. Start over." Emma was silent. She held the brush, unconsciously dipping it in water, then pulling it out again. No color. No shape. Just blank space. Naomi took a sip of water, then said, "Do you remember when we were in art class? There was an assignment. Draw yourself. No mirror, no photo. Remember?" I got 5 points from the teacher. But that was the one you told with dashed lines. You drew a woman sitting on the edge of the wall, black below, sky above. She said this is not an art assignment. This is a cry for help. Emma shivered slightly. That picture, she hid it behind the bookcase, not daring to look back. Naomi continued. Now you are living in that exact picture. You mean I am still sitting on the edge of the wall? No. I mean, you are letting people paint the rest for you. And they are all choosing gray. Emma bowed her head. Naomi slowly pushed the paints towards her. You have 2 choices, Emma. One is to continue letting them paint. Mother-in-law, husband, sister-in-law, and those familiar eyes. Or pick up the brush again, even if it's shaky, even if it's scribbled, but it's your own. If I don't know where to start, then draw a dot. You have the right to start with something tiny, like how every wound begins to heal with a cell. Emma picks up the brush. A blue dot appears in the middle of the canvas. Not pretty, meaningless. But it's the first color she's chosen herself, after so many years of living in someone else's palette. She breathes out, lighter. Not because she's drawn anything, but because she's finally not silent anymore. One Friday evening, after Emma puts Eli to bed, she sits in the kitchen, looking at the white canvas that's already dotted with a few scattered patches of color. Each patch represents a day she's tried to step out of the darkness in the smallest way possible. And then she opens her phone, types a text message. Mom, I would like to ask for a private meeting this weekend about our family and some things I have kept in my heart for a long time. Can you arrange it for me? Press send. Just a few minutes later, the message replied, This weekend, we have a small party for our in-laws. Let's talk about it another time. Send me the content of the discussion early. I will review it. Emma didn't know whether to laugh or be disappointed. Send the content of the discussion in advance, as if she was asking for an administrative meeting, not asking to speak her mind. The next day, she took the initiative to call. Mrs. June answered the phone, her voice calm. What is it that you want to talk to me about in private? I just want you to understand how I feel when I am compared. When my name is forgotten. When I no longer feel like I am a part of this family. Oh, you are so sensitive. That's not what I meant. Everyone has their own role. I just need to do my part well. Emma swallowed a question. What does my part mean? Is it being silent at the right time? Is it being reasonable? Is it not responding when hurt? She tried again. I don't blame you, but I wish I had a voice. You see me as a real family member. Honey, Rachel communicates well and is well liked by everyone. You should learn from her instead of seeing everything negatively. I sincerely say that because I want you to get along. That get along echoed like an old sentence. Because in the eyes of adults, a woman who knows how to be silent is an easy person to live with. The call ended with a warning. Okay, don't let small things make the atmosphere tense. Our family is still fine. Emma hung up, not crying, just feeling empty. That night, Michael asked, Did you call your mother? Yes. What did Mom say? That I'm sensitive. Michael didn't reply. He turned back to his computer screen, apparently seeing an important email. Emma turned away, entered the studio. On the canvas, she didn't paint anything. Just sat. Silence. No longer endurance. Silence. Now a kind of bold stroke. Because sometimes, if no one else is listening, then you have to be the first to listen to yourself. Summer came as gently as the first breath of the day. One Sunday morning, Emma set up a small whiteboard in front of her house. On it, in slightly slanted blue strokes, she wrote, Weekend drawing class for children who want to tell stories in color. No need to draw beautifully. Just be sincere. No banners. No advertising. Just a very childish, but very real invitation, enough to make a few mothers in the neighborhood bring their children to the first session. 6 children. A small living room. A pile of white paper. a few boxes of crayons, and a woman who had not heard her laugh for a long time. Emma bent down and watched the little girl, about 5 years old, draw a blue rabbit. Why does your rabbit have purple ears and a red belly? Because it is angry, but still loves it. Emma smiled. Her heart felt like it had just been watered. Here, no one compared. No one asked who drew the best. No one taught how to please the adults. She didn't need to be Miss Emma the art teacher. She was just Emma, the one who created a safe enough space for the children to be themselves through each stroke. And while teaching the children to hold a brush, she was also relearning how to hold her life with both hands. That afternoon, when class was over, a little girl secretly slipped her a piece of paper. I don't know how to draw well. But here, I don't feel bad. Emma folded the paper and put it in her notebook, carefully as if she were holding a medal. That night, Eli ran into her mother's room, holding the drawing paper. Mom, will our class be open again tomorrow? Yes. Then tomorrow, Mom, will you teach me to draw a rainbow? Emma nodded. She was no longer afraid of colors, because she knew no one has the right to erase your colors unless you give them the brush. On Monday, Eli's school held Inspirational People's Day. Each student would bring a picture or an item that represented the person they admired the most. Eli didn't say anything to Emma beforehand. The boy just woke up earlier than usual, carefully put a laminated picture in his bag between his notebooks. Emma quickly made breakfast, packed a box of fruit like every day, then patted her head. Did you learn anything special today? Yes, drawing. But I did it. Emma smiled. Yes, try your best. Eli nodded, walked out the door. But when he reached the steps, he turned back, hugged his mother tightly. Strangely more than usual. Emma was stunned, then hugged her son again, as if hugging something that was about to bloom from that tiny heart. In the afternoon, when Emma came to pick up her child, as soon as she reached the gate, the homeroom teacher smiled and greeted her, holding a laminated picture. Are you Eli's mother? Yes. I want to show you something. On the paper was a picture of a woman standing in the kitchen, not like the classic housewife, but holding a brush. Behind her was a rainbow of colors. Below the picture was a neat line of words. Mom is the one who keeps the colors for the whole family. Emma touched the words. Her heart slowed down, then broke out in a gentle emotion that had never been named. The teacher said, "Today, the students brought pictures of famous people, players, singers, and Eli brought a picture of his mother." When he introduced himself, the whole class was silent for a few seconds. One of the students asked, "Why is Mom the one who keeps the colors?" Eli said, "Because if Mom is sad, everything in the house is sad. But if Mom is happy, my house has a lot of color, even the colors no one taught me to color." Emma laughed, her eyes red. "You said that yourself?" she asked again. "Yes," and very firmly. "I think you should keep this picture. It's not just an assignment, but a testimony." Eli ran from afar, saw Mom holding the picture, and was embarrassed. "I'm sorry for not telling you in advance." "No need to tell you in advance." Emma bowed her head, because the most beautiful things sometimes come as a surprise gift. That night, Emma framed the picture and hung it on the living room wall. Not to show off, but to remind herself every time she passed by. There was a child who looked at Mom with enough eyes to make the world recolor. One night, after washing the dishes, hanging out the laundry, and checking Eli's drawing homework, Emma lay on the sofa, opening her phone as usual. The first notification from the family chat group appeared. "Mom is cooking seaweed soup this weekend. Remember Rachel to bring dessert." Below was a long line of emoticons, compliments, and tags. No one asked Emma what she brought. Not a single mention of her, even though she was also the daughter-in-law. The one who cooked and set up parties countless times without a name. Emma read the entire conversation. Not sad, not angry, just exhausted. She opened the group info section, scrolled down, and clicked the Leave Group button. A dialogue box appeared. Are you sure you want to leave the group, my dear family? Emma smiled. The name sounded ironic. She pressed leave. The screen was silent. No notifications. No immediate call back. But less than 30 minutes later, the phone rang. It was Michael. You're leaving the group? Yeah. Why? I knew Mom and Rachel would notice. I know. I didn't leave the group to make a big deal out of it. I'm just tired of watching myself get ignored every day and still having to clap for conversations that don't include me. Michael sighed. No one meant it. No? But look, have you ever been asked anything? Every time I said something different from the general opinion, I was told, don't overreact, it's not fun. Before the conversation could get to the point of understanding, a private message from Rachel came the next morning. To Emma, I didn't think you would act like that. Leaving the family group over some small matter is a bit selfish. Emma read. Put down the phone. No answer. She knew the more she explained, the deeper she got into a conversation where people just wanted her to return to her gentle and obedient role. In the afternoon, when picking up Eli, the boy asked, Mom, is our house no longer a family? Emma bent down. Family is where there are people who understand and respect you. If that doesn't happen, I think we should recreate a different scene. I still have a father, a grandmother, right? Yes, but I need a place where I won't be called selfish just because I protect my feelings. Eli nodded, as if he was trying to understand adult logic. Emma knew she would probably be called many names, difficult to fit in, sensitive, overdoing things, and most recently, selfish. But of all those words, there was only one that made her feel the most at ease. Really, because for the first time in many years, she was true to her feelings and dared to break away from a circle that was too tight. That afternoon, it rained lightly, without warning. Emma sat on the balcony, wrapped a thin woolen scarf around her shoulders, watching the water streaks slide down the railing like streams of emotions that had no place to hide. The message from Rachel was still on the phone. Selfish, a short word, but enough for people to repeat hundreds of times in their heads, doubting themselves, blaming themselves, and shrinking back. Emma was not someone who liked to argue. But since the day she dared to step out of the family chat group, she understood. To find herself, sometimes she had to accept being the bad person in someone else's story. The doorbell rang. It was Naomi, as a habit whenever Emma showed signs of drifting. She walked into the house, didn't say much, just put the cup of hot cocoa on the table and sat down opposite. You can tell she's examining herself. Who else? What else? Emma handed over the phone. Naomi read it, then sighed. Classic. Women who say no are called selfish. Women who withdraw from the table are called disruptive. Women who take care of themselves are called snobbish. Emma rested her chin on her hand. I'm tired. Tired of having to prove that I'm not a bad person. But you don't have to prove it anymore. You didn't collapse. That's good enough. Naomi tilted her head, looking straight at Emma as she always did when she was about to declare something important. Listen, Emma. Women aren't selfish when they choose not to collapse. The mistake isn't that you withdrew from the family group. The mistake is that you had to stay in it for too long, even though you knew you weren't being listened to. Emma chuckled softly, but her eyes were moist. Do you know what I used to think? What? That if I was patient enough, gentle enough, well-liked enough, I would accept it. But the price of pleasing is losing yourself. Naomi held her friend's hand and squeezed it gently. Emma, there is a kind of fatigue that is more dangerous than being hurt. It is the fatigue of having to play the role of a version that everyone loves. And sometimes that person is not you. Emma said nothing, but in her heart a door opened, where she began to see her own light more clearly. That night, she posted a short line on Facebook. Not everyone who withdraws from the noise is letting go. Some people withdraw to hear their inner voice again, The one that was once drowned out by the so-called shoots. The status only received a few likes. But for the first time, she did not post it hoping for sympathy. She posted it because she needed to hear her true voice again. 3 days after the retreat from the noise status, Michael finally spoke. Not that he didn't see it. He had read it as soon as Emma posted it. He just didn't know what to say. As usual. Until Tuesday night, when Eli was asleep and Emma was labeling the children's paint boxes in the art class, Michael came out of the study, stood at the door for a long time, then spoke. "You have changed a lot lately." Emma didn't turn around. "No one can stand still forever. I mean, you're different. Less talkative. More distant. Or, are you just less pretentious?" The words weren't sharp. Not accusatory. But they were enough to make the room quiet for a beat. Michael pulled out a chair and sat across from her. For the first time in months, he looked her straight in the eye. "I know, you're sad. I know you're hurt. But you have to understand. I'm my mother's only son. I'm in the middle." He was stuck. Emma looked at him. Not smiling. Not snapping. "Michael, don't you think I'm not stuck? I'm stuck between teaching my children to be confident and seeing myself as worthless. I'm stuck between a forgotten name and an unrecognized role. I'm stuck in a house where I'm a wife, a mother, but not a person." Michael bowed his head. Silent. "I've been waiting for you to say something. Just one sentence, like, I'm not wrong. I don't need you to argue with Mom, nor do I need you to choose sides. I just need you to stand by me. But every time I fall, you stand far away and call it keeping the peace." Michael squeezed her hand. "I'm sorry, Emma." The apology fell on the table like a small pebble, creating ripples. But it couldn't fill the cracked surface of a lake. Emma leaned back in her chair. "I'm sorry, but will anything change?" Michael hesitated. "I'm not sure. But for the first time, I want to learn how to change." Emma was silent. It wasn't the words she'd been waiting for. But it wasn't meaningless either. It was just too late. And she wasn't there to wait for them. After a while, Emma said softly, "I don't need you to fix everything. Just don't make me heal alone." Michael nodded. Slowly and heavily. There are words that don't heal wounds. But at least they mark an end, or a beginning. That night, Emma finished labeling, put the paint box in her bag, and walked into the bedroom. Michael sat back, looking at the wedding photo on the shelf beside the table, where Emma was in a white dress, holding his hand. She had once put her heart in that hand. Now, that hand was learning to hold itself. One Monday morning, as Emma was teaching the kids to draw apples in the light, her phone buzzed in her coat pocket. 3 missed calls from Michael. A short text from Naomi. "Have you seen the news?" Emma turned on her phone. The city's internal news site was displaying a prominent headline. Glazen HR director accused of manipulating hiring results and taking personal benefits, suspended for investigation. Photo credit, Rachel. Her sister-in-law. The model daughter-in-law. The one who was always right. The one who got the most food at family dinners. Emma fell silent for a moment, not because she was gloating, but because a part of her was both crushed and lighter. That night at dinner, as if by some strange reflex, the family chat group sent a message. "Let's all pray for Rachel through this difficult time." Emma looked at the message that she had never received before, not when Eli was having a hard time, not when she was constantly compared, not when she left the group and was labeled selfish. She didn't respond. That evening, Michael walked into the room, looked at Emma hesitantly. "Did you see the message?" "Yes." "Mom is in shock," she said. "I can't believe Rachel would do that." Emma nodded. For once, she didn't need to analyze anything. The truth had a way of revealing itself, like a layer of paint that couldn't be hidden forever. "I'm not happy," Emma said. "But I'm relieved." Relief? Relief because I finally know I'm not crazy, not paranoid, not overly sensitive. I was just the one who saw the cracks, when everyone else was still complimenting the beautiful paint. Michael sat down, looking at her longer than usual. Do you think Mom will change? Emma smiled. Not bitterly. Maybe she'll keep quiet. Maybe Mom would deny it. But whether Mom changed or not, I wouldn't be where I was. Then the phone rang. It was June. Emma looked at the screen. After a moment, she handed it to Michael. Listen, I don't want to hear anyone say, things aren't what I thought they were. Michael nodded, picked up the phone, and walked out. Emma sat back, opened the old picture frame, and took out a blank sheet of paper. She drew a house, with an open window, no curtains. She drew a woman standing in the kitchen, this time not bowing her head. Not holding a spoon, but holding a brush. Beneath it, she wrote, "Some things only break, so you stop doubting your own feelings." 2 days later, June came to the house. Unannounced. Emma was arranging flowers, a new habit of late. She did not hide her surprise, but invited her in, making ginger tea as usual. She sat on the sofa, her hands clasped together. Her back slightly hunched. For the first time, she did not look like the head of the table. Her eyes were not cold, but also not familiar. Emma, I'm sorry for coming unexpectedly. It's okay. If you have anything to say, just tell me. There was a thin silence. She looked around the neat room, stopping at the painting Eli had drawn. I am the one who keeps the family together. Then she spoke, her voice slow, as if untangling each tangled thread. I know about Rachel, not recently. I know she has some shady ways. But I didn't say anything, didn't stop her. Because I was afraid. Emma looked up, half surprised, half not so surprised. She continued. I was afraid that people would think I had a daughter-in-law who was not good. I was afraid of gossip. Afraid that they would gossip and talk about me. So I chose to remain silent. To believe in her good cover, to maintain the family's image. Emma nodded slightly. And to maintain that image, I pushed others out. Mrs. June looked down at her hands. I know. I didn't defend you when you needed me. I unintentionally made you feel like an outsider in your own husband's house. I thought that as long as you were good, that was enough. But now I understand. The price of being good, without being recognized, is more painful than protesting. Emma said nothing, because for the first time, Mrs. June was telling the truth. After a while, she asked, Have you ever blamed me so much that you didn't want to come back? Emma poured tea, put it down gently on the table. Yes, but then I realized blaming is not enough to change anything. So I chose to leave. Not to give up, but to stop living in the role of ideal daughter-in-law that I was never asked if I wanted to play. Mrs. June paused. After a long time, she said, I don't dare ask for your forgiveness. I just hope you understand that, sometimes, adults are weak, scared, and wrong. Emma looked at her. In that look, there was no more anger, only understanding from someone who had gone far enough in the pain to no longer need to demand justice. I want to start over, if you allow me. Emma smiled, picked up the teapot, and poured more tea. We can't start over, Mom. But we can start here. A week after the conversation with Mrs. June, Michael sat across from Emma in a familiar coffee shop near her house. For the first time in months, he was the one who initiated the date. Small shop, soft music. Only a few tables with few customers. Emma chose a latte as usual. Michael ordered an Americano. She didn't ask why. She waited. Michael took a deep breath, then said, I know you don't trust me anymore. Emma didn't answer, didn't nod, didn't argue. But I want you to know, I'm trying. I know I've been silent for so long because I'm afraid of losing my mother. But actually, I've lost more. Lost what? Emma asked, her voice even. Michael looked at her slowly. Lost the chance to stand next to the person I love, in the true sense. Lost the trust that I should have protected. Lost the admiration in my wife's eyes. Emma looked up. He wasn't exaggerating. She used to admire Michael for his calmness, his reason. Because she thought he was the one who would know right from wrong without yelling. But there was one truth that Emma understood. Calmness is not complicity, but silence in the face of injustice. That is. I waited for you to speak up, Emma said. Not to defend me, but to see that you understood me. But you were silent. Then I stopped waiting. Michael bowed his head. I don't want to lose you. But I've lost it. Not you, but something more important. Trust. The words fell like small stones, lightly rippled on the coffee cup on the table. I don't hate you. I'm not angry anymore. But I have gone too far beyond the point where my heart can return just for an apology. Michael exhaled heavily. So, what should I do now? Emma looked at him, her voice calm. Don't do anything. Just be a father Eli can be proud of. A man no child should have to learn to be silent around. Someone who, if she had a daughter, wouldn't have to ask, Mommy, are quiet women more loved? Michael nodded. Quietly. She stood up first, leaving her half-finished latte. Not angry, not hurt. It was just, when a woman no longer needed him to understand her, she learned to live without him at the center. One Friday night, after Eli had gone to bed, Emma sat at her desk in the corner of the living room. The soft yellow light of the desk lamp illuminated the blank page. She held a fountain pen in her hand, something she rarely used, except when she needed to write something truly important. Today, she did not draw. She wrote a letter. The first letter to her son, leaving behind something no parenting book had ever made clear. How to nurture a heart that loves you without sacrificing your voice. She began with Eli, so evenly. My Eli. By the time you read this letter, you may be a little older. Knowing how to be sad because of a look, how to be hurt because of a word, how to fear the feeling of not being chosen, not being heard, not being called by name. I am not writing this letter to teach you to be strong. Being strong is something you will learn in your own way. I just want to tell you one thing. Never choose silence as a shelter. Because I used to be like that. I used to think that, as long as I was good, yielding, not speaking up, everything would be fine. But you know, every time I was silent, a part of me retreated. A part of the color was erased. I used to be called overdoing it, sensitive, selfish, just because I dared to say I was not okay. But if I did not speak up, I would teach you that suffering is a way of life. I do not want that. And I know you do not deserve to learn that either. She stopped. Tears fell silently on the edge of the words. Not because she was sad, but because for the first time she was speaking to her child with the true voice of a mother who is learning how to be human again. She continued. Eli, when someone makes you feel small, don't try to be the strongest. Don't be quiet to be the cutest. Speak up. Stand up. Keep your color, even when you're surrounded by blackboards. Because if you stay quiet for too long, one day, you won't know what your voice sounds like anymore. And I don't want that to happen to anyone, especially you. I love you. The first color keeper in my life. Mom, Emma. She folded the letter, put it in an envelope, sealed it. She wrote on the envelope. For Eli, open when you're old enough to choose how you want to live. Then she put the letter in her desk drawer, next to the paintbrushes, the old drawings, and a small painting with the words. You are allowed to take space. It was a sunny Sunday morning. The kind of light yellow sunlight that was as soft as a thin towel draped over your shoulders, not too bright, not too cold. Emma woke up early, baking butter cookies for the afternoon art class. As the second batch of cookies hit the oven, she opened her laptop and typed in a search. Private art gallery for independent artists. The results page popped up. One name made her pause. Art Nest. An open space for independent artists. No qualifications. No reputation. Just have something to tell in color. Emma clicked. The registration form consisted of just a few basic lines. She hesitated at the "introduce yourself" and "why you want to exhibit your work." Then she typed, "I am a woman who used to paint to be seen. Now I paint to not disappear from myself." She pressed send. No expectations, no excitement. Just lightness. Because once again, she chose to leave the place that made her smaller. Not to leave her marriage. Not to cut ties with her husband's family. But to leave the version of herself that had accepted living only to please others. That afternoon in art class, a boy asked, "Emma, what if people say my drawing is bad?" Emma smiled. Leaned down. Then I asked them back, "Have you ever seen the world through my eyes?" The whole class chuckled. Emma stood still, and for the first time, she saw her small room as more than just a place to teach art, but a place to be reborn. That night, she texted Michael, "Thank you for loving me. But now I'm learning to love myself, in a way I was never taught." Michael didn't answer right away. But Emma didn't wait. She had stopped waiting a long time ago and stopped walking for anyone else. This time, she was walking for herself. Near the end of the fall, Emma received an email from ArtNest. The first line made her heart skip a beat. "We are so excited to have you and your colorful stories in our November gallery." No flashbulbs. No press. No applause. But for Emma, it was the first recognition she didn't have to trade silence for. 2 weeks later, Emma's gallery opened. A small room in the city's creative district. White walls, simple easels. A few frames she had framed herself. Not fancy, but warm. There was no title on each painting. Only short, whispery handwritten lines. A mother who is not allowed to paint in her child's paintings. The party is full of chairs, except for one chair with her name. The last woman who dared to pick up a brush. Viewers passed quietly by. Some were teary-eyed. Some people stayed longer than expected. In a small corner, Emma reserved a space for an open drawing class where adults could also sit and draw. Like children who were forced to practice being adults. A woman in her 40s, wearing a work shirt, her hands shaking as she drew her first drawing. "I haven't drawn since middle school. The teacher said I had no talent, so I quit." Emma smiled. "Here, there is no talent. Just have a story to tell." On the weekend, Eli visited the gallery with Michael. The boy ran in, shouting, "Mom, are you famous yet?" Emma smiled, bending down. "You're famous enough to be famous by yourself, my child." Michael stood behind, silent. For the first time, he didn't feel the need to say anything to recover. He just knew that Emma was glowing, not because of the light, but because she was no longer hiding in someone else's shadow. That evening, Emma hung a small sign in front of the gallery door, written in chalk, "Here, you don't have to draw well. You just have to draw for real." One early winter evening, after Emma turned off the gallery lights and took Eli home, he brought a small brown notebook, a gift from his teacher for students to write what they couldn't say in words. Eli called it a secret notebook. He wouldn't let his mother read it. But that evening when Emma was cleaning up her books, she saw the notebook open to one page, neatly placed on the desk. As if someone wanted her mother to accidentally see it. On the page was the round, slightly slanted handwriting of a 7-year-old child. "Today I saw my mother standing in the gallery." A stranger complimented her on her beauty. She didn't blush, nor was she embarrassed. She just smiled, the same smile as when she read stories to me when she was sick, but still didn't want me to be sad. I used to think that a brave person is someone who is loud, good at fighting, or saves the world like in cartoons. But today I think again. A brave person is someone who still dares to draw, even though they have been told not to draw. A person who leaves the party table without apologizing because he no longer feels that is the right place to sit. A person who knows sadness but does not hide it from his child, so that his child knows that sadness is not wrong. That person is my mother. If tomorrow the teacher asks me, who do you want to be like the most? I will not hesitate to answer. I want to be like my mother. Because my mother is the bravest person I know. Emma read the last line and suddenly felt a chill down her spine. Not because of the wind, but because the child who was once the reason she endured is now a mirror reflecting the journey she has overcome. Not to become great, but to no longer live cramped in the box called who others expect me to be. Emma closed the book and put it back in its place. Then she turned off the light, sat down at her drawing table, and added a new stroke to her unfinished painting. She didn't need to be perfect. Just add a little bit of her own color every day. It was a gloomy Thursday afternoon. Emma was polishing the glass of the gallery window when she heard a light knock on the door. It was Michael. He stood there, his shirt as untidy as usual, his eyes dark, his folded umbrella in his hand, one shoulder wet. Emma opened the door, not surprised, not shy. Just asked, "Do you need to see your child?" Michael shook his head. "I came to see you today." Emma tilted her head, gesturing for him to come in. The room still smelled of fresh paper and watercolors. He sat down on the chair opposite the easel, looking at the unfinished painting, a woman standing in a field with long flowing hair, holding nothing in her hands, but standing very firmly. "This is me." "No, it's a part of me. The part that no longer expects recognition from anyone to dare stand up straight." Michael nodded slightly. He was silent for a long time. Then he said, "I'm sorry, Emma." His voice did not tremble, but it was as low as the rain that had just stopped. No defense. No attempt to explain. "I was silent when you needed it most. I chose to keep the peace instead of holding on to you. I thought that as long as I did nothing wrong, I was a good person. But in fact, I was wrong because I did nothing." Emma sat down on the chair opposite. "You continue. Don't stop at 'I'm sorry.' I don't need that, if it's just because of my guilt." Michael looked straight at her. "I'm not sorry to be forgiven. I'm sorry because in the end, I understand that there are things a man only realizes after losing the trusting gaze of his wife. I don't blame you anymore. But I can't go back to the point I thought, if I just change, everything will be fine. I understand. You don't need to go back. Just, if one day I see you standing in the crowd, I don't have to turn away." A long moment of silence. Then Emma said softly, "You know, forgiveness doesn't mean giving someone another chance. Forgiveness is when you no longer need them to understand, to feel relieved. And you've done it? Almost. Because I no longer write myself with the eyes of others." Michael smiled softly. He stood up, adjusted his shirt, bowed his head. "Thank you for believing in me. And thank you for not needing to." Emma didn't see him off. Michael walked away in the rain, not looking back. As for her, she returned to the table, took a brush, and finished painting the woman's hand in the painting, an arm wrapped around her waist. Not someone else's hand, but her own hand. One weekend morning, Emma received a beige envelope hand-delivered from the post office. There was no sender, but the handwriting on the envelope was familiar enough for her to know who it was from. Inside was a cream-colored piece of paper, blue ink, handwritten, slowly, carefully. Not like the hasty messages in the family group. Not like the typical mother-in-law advice. Emma opened it, reading each line. "Emma, I was going to call. But then I thought, there are things that need to be written down. Not to say them quickly, but to show the other person that I have thought them through. Most of all, I want you to be able to read it many times, if you need to, and also tear it up, if you don't need to. I'm not writing this to justify myself, nor to make excuses. I just want to confess something that you've probably known for a long time, but that I've only now found the courage to say. I was wrong, and I've hurt you more than I'll ever admit. I used to think that a good daughter-in-law was someone who knew when to be silent, who knew when to nod when the whole family was in agreement, who knew how to blend in without making a fuss. I used to hope that you were like that. And when you weren't right for the role, I didn't say anything, but I showed my disappointment by removing you from conversations, events, and even names on invitations. Until I saw you leave, without making a fuss. Without blaming, just quietly disappearing from the table where you should have been. I started to feel scared. Not scared of losing my daughter-in-law, but scared of losing something very real that I had never known how to appreciate, a woman with her own opinions, with self-respect, and who dared to walk away from where she couldn't be seen. Emma. I was wrong to think that silence was a virtue. I was wrong to not realize silence is only beautiful when it is a choice, not a compulsion. Now, I'm not asking you to return to your old role. I just hope that one day I can do it again, not as your mother-in-law, but as an adult who listens to another adult. I know I'm not good enough, but I'm learning from you, even though you didn't mean to teach me. Thank you, Mom, June. Emma folded the letter, put it in the wooden box where she kept the things she couldn't say, her first drawing, her letter to Eli. And now her letter from June. She didn't cry, but her chest felt lighter, not because of the recognition, but because finally, someone understood that silence is not love, and her leaving was not a protest, but a way to save herself. One late winter afternoon, the sky was clear. The sunlight spread like a thin layer of cloth on the grass. Emma brought her easel, her watercolor box, her thin scarf, and her bottle of water to the small park at the end of the street, where there was a big tree that she and Eli jokingly called the story tree. This time she went alone. Not to teach, not to paint for the gallery, nor to keep an image in anyone's eyes. Just to paint. For herself. She spread out the scarf, opened the paint box, set up the canvas. No one was around. No sound except for the lonely birds and the gentle wind. Emma took a deep breath. For the first time in a long time, she let everything quiet down. Enough to hear her own heart without being interrupted by anyone else's voice. This time the painting had no clear subject. Not a portrait. Not a landscape. Just a few soft shades. The green of freedom, the yellow of hope, the purple of wounds that had stopped bleeding, and the orange-red of life she had kept alive through every time she wanted to give up. Each layer of color was layered on top of the other, like the years she had lived in silence, then whispered, then spoke louder, then stood up, then walked away. When the last line dried on the paper, Emma leaned against the tree, smiling. There was no applause. No one came to compliment her. No one called her name. But she had never seen herself so clearly in the painting she had created. As the sun began to sink, she removed the painting from its frame, placed it in a canvas bag, and left the park. No need to hang it anywhere. No need to exhibit it. Because she had hung it inside herself. An imperfect painting, but for the first time Emma had painted without needing to be seen. All she needed to know was, I am still here. Enough. And brave enough to love yourself, gently and proudly.